Right, obviously in this last off-season, the one from last year, the big move was getting Rekkles. As I say, it was on a free transfer from Fnatic. Right, when you got this move, I think, and what's funny is this just shows how fans are all over the place. At the time, the fans were all complaining that you ruined LEC by making it impossible for anyone else to win a game. Like, they made it sound like this team would never lose a single game. I mean, it would be easy to win the title, you know, like everyone else has no chance. Because obviously on paper, you still had the same 4 players that had all the other success, and then you added Rekkles, who for most people was at worst a side grade ADC, if not arguably a better AD carry. I mean, Perks obviously only played it for a couple of years. So when you made this team, did you also expect like we should just dominate everything? Is this what was supposed to happen in the Rekkles era?
I mean, I did not expect that, but at the same time, I mean, if I went back in time, would I take a different AD carry? With what I know right now, yes. With what I knew back then, no. And so, in other words, if I went back in time, I would do the exact same thing. Because if you have the opportunity to create a super team with Rekkles, you fucking do it. I would have always asked myself, what if, what if, what if? So I did the right thing. I don't ask myself, what if? I've learned a lesson, and I move on. The year sucked. That's okay. Next one won't.
Obviously, people are going to say, if you even look at the year, literally Rekkles was the MVP of the spring split, and a lot of people actually had him as a potential MVP candidate for the summer split as well. So fans or people who generally vote on that sort of thing, they would have said he's one of the better players in the league. So how would you explain from the outside, as in like you obviously can't give us all the inside details, give us some sense of why didn't it work, do you think? Why did Rekkles and G2 not work?
I think it's a combination of in-game and outside the game reasons, right? But in-game, I mean, it's just very different view on how the game should be played, and very different view on how a team should operate and operate together day by day, right? And there's no right or wrong answer. You see Messi succeeding, you see Ronaldo succeeding, right? The magic versus the commitment and the ambition to be the number one, right? And both work. And so I think this is no different, you know? Rekkles viewed the game one way, and he's made it work with champions that no other player, I think, would have made it work. Like, I don't think most players can get away with playing Sivir Jhin and expect good results. Yet he had good results, okay? Which speaks very highly about how fucking good he is in the game. But when those two picks you're doing sacrifice something else, perhaps Tom's topside, or sacrifice something else in the way we play the game, when the meta is not the right fit, and you are forced to play Ziggs 1v2 or Ezreal 1v2 bot lane, and you're still wanting to play, you know, the Jhin and Sivir stuff. I'm getting too granular, but because it's not as cut clear as this, right? But I'm just trying to be like extremist just for the sake of people understanding. Then he might still be able to play well, but the team will have either everybody else plays for that win condition of having Rekkles, or it's gonna fail. And we had a team of 4 that never played as win condition and never had a one-dimensional win condition through bot. G2 has never played through a one-dimensional win condition as through bot. Never. Maybe for a month or 2 with Sven and Mitty at Worlds maybe, but it didn't really work out. But we never did that. So now we were incentivized to do that, but we never did it still, you know? So I think that it's definitely a mistake in team building, because we should have looked for an ADC that's not a rock star that sees himself as a great carry, but more so someone that takes pleasure in adapting to what the team needs, you know? And I think it would have gone significantly better, but I don't think it would have fixed all the problems, bro. Like, we would have sucked still, you know? Maybe we reach Worlds, who knows? But we would have sucked a big toe in Worlds. And then outside the game is like the same, you know? Like, Rekkles is someone that wakes up early, goes to bed early. And that's just not that's not how the rest of the team wanted to live life, you know? So, which means that when he stood in the gaming house for board games and stuff like that, it wouldn't just be natural for him. but most of the times he wouldn't stay. So then we have like different groups doing different things, and you can't have in a video game that relies more and more about everybody being on the same page in game. You can't have that deviation in and outside the game. You know, you can have different people, different characters, and you should have, but you can't have that far apart. You know. So I think that's, just in big picture, that's the reason why it failed. At the same time, you give me an AD carry that would have been with the team much more and would have been like much more adapting to what the team needed. And I still think we would have done badly because the overall hunger wasn't there. They were just not hungry anymore. They, as a group, you know, they fell into bad habits playing together for so long. It's what sucks about succeeding so much. I don't think many people in this earth can keep that hunger unless something changes. I mean, even like the likes of fucking LeBron need to change teams eventually to reinvigorate that hunger, you know? And when you play with not only the same org, but the same people around you for that long, the same support staff around you, you just fall into very bad habits. And it's nobody's fault. It's just as a byproduct of the extreme success we went through.
Whenever you have a team that is really successful, one thing I always find tough myself is trying to figure out like who did what in the team, who had what influence. Like the whole collective unit might look like they're really clutch or really dedicated, whatever the angle might be. It's only though when you pick people apart, especially if you send them to different teams, you can sort of test it and see like, right, well, this guy is like this, I put him in a different environment. Right? If you heard some of the stories about why supposedly Perks in Cloud9 wasn't working that well, it actually sounds like it gives us some insight into what he was doing in G2, because I've heard basically that actually some of the players in Cloud9 didn't like the idea that he was sort of like a stricter player or like would call people on their shit or wanted to have like actual like proper discussions about what's going on instead of just, you know, hoping things get better, right? People have seen this big contrast because obviously G2 looked a lot worse. And then specifically, I got the vibe, this is what I wanted to ask you about. Did this actually sort of like teach you something about intangibles, about like what types of figures you needed beyond just the players in the game, obviously? Like as you say, yes, I need like a good AD characters, this, that, and the other, but you need also to have like captains and leaders. Yeah, but and I got the vibe like maybe Perks was keeping some of the other members in line in past years. Is that true?
Yeah, but look, I think that's a lot of Perks' strengths are typically brought forward by the support stuff, by the coaching stuff.
Okay. In what way?
In the way of, hey guys, we fucking suck. Like ahead of time, with enough time ahead of the important games, so that people can just, you know, and create a culture as a coach. I'm not blaming Grabs. Guys, that's not what I'm doing, but Grabs worked within the context of having Perks, you know, and that's how he did well within that realm of possibilities he was playing with, right? But typically, more often than not, you see that culture being developed by the GM of the team or like the coach of the team. A culture of telling to each other things with honesty, with the goal of getting better as a team. A culture of making sure people are holding each other accountable to high standards. You know, that's not typically on the player. It really isn't. That's typically on the coach. So yeah, it is true that losing Perks made us lose that, and we did not have a replacement for that in particular. And Perks learned that from Mitty, as I did as well. Actually, I think Mitty is one of the, used to be actually as a player, one of the absolute best at this. He would just tell you, hey, this fucking sucked, completely unemotionally. And he made every team he was a part of better by doing that. He created that culture, and Perks sucked that culture in, and then implemented it himself when Mitty was no longer there. And Grabs was a fantastic coach when you have players that carry on that culture, or a player that carries on that culture. Then you take the player out. There is nobody that will tell to their teammates, hey, we fucking suck. That was fucking garbage, in a way that's unemotional and just with the goal of getting better. And then the coaching staff doesn't have it either. So then you have a conflict-shy group of people. And when a conflict-shy group of people leads to a problem like this, eventually it becomes bigger, then bigger, then bigger, and eventually it explodes. And if it explodes at the wrong time, like it did, then you get what we got. And specifically, one of the bigger problems of small problems that become large is that it's like everything is so flimsy, you know? It's like every game, every official game that matters becomes so flimsy. It's like, yeah, we're doing well, but then I trolled here. Oh, and then you just lose the game? Like, where is the camaraderie and team spirit to, as a whole, as a group, say, okay, let's do first solutions, you know? When you don't have that, because this small problem became now this large, and people end up hating each other. I mean, I'm not saying, I don't want to be quoted like people hated each other in the team, but I mean, like our bot lane never do it. Like, there was no conversations about the game like in a normal, like this. There was no love for getting better as a team. There was no love for getting better and looking for better ways to play the game. There was no love for that. And yeah, we are partly to blame for, incentivizing putting this team together.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.